We are presented by WinBet. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WinBet. Eric Allen here at the NFL Scouting Combine with assistant GM Rex Hogan. Great seeing you. You know what I was thinking about before? Brady Quinn was before me in the security line. He's a guy that you have had a lot of experience with going back to your days at Notre Dame.
Yeah. I ran into Brady here earlier this week, so it's good catching up with him. We stay in not constant communication, but randomly throughout the year, bouncing football and life off each other. I've known him since he was a high school player and recruiting him to Notre Dame. So
a former Jet too for a stint. How do you balance this? Because everybody in the NFL, it's a small circle when you've been around as long as you have. And there's a lot of people who want to get in your ear. So how do you keep the train moving, so to speak?
And just like you said, keep the train moving. There's times where guys will say, "Hey, man, can I grab 5-10 minutes?" Yeah, walk with me. So it'll be a walk from the hotel over to the stadium, or I'll have guys meet me outside the stadium, and I'll do the walk with them and catch up that way. So there's constant requests, man, between agents and other different companies, and everything football related. Somebody wants a chance to sit down and talk to you, and there's a lot of guys who are trying to get into football, and so you just make time for people, and cultivate relationships.
And then hopefully get some sleep when you get back to New Jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, so I wanted to ask you, and I do every year, but how do you guys balance this in terms of free agency? Legal tampering period starts March 14th. Free agency commences March 16th, but you're here watching all these prospects as well. So you got to have a couple balls up in there at the same time.
Yeah, we're really fortunate to have an just incredible group of support staff and people who work with us, with Christina Wedding, Dan Spioski, and how they coordinate everything for us from the personnel operations aspect. So we are constantly going from free agency, from pro to college, and so you're wearing different hats, and we've got great leadership, and Greg Nejma is our pro director, and Chad Alexander is our director of player personnel. And then you got Phil Savage and John Carr. I mean, I can go on and on about the whole group and highlight each one of them individually and what they do and what they bring. So it helps me and Joe, obviously, to have that kind of support system as a group, and how we can bounce from different aspect to different aspect, knowing that they've got everything coordinated and ready for us. So we can just hop in the seat and we're ready for the next meeting.
Where do you have to be in terms of free agency before coming here? Because you guys were having staff meetings before departing for Indianapolis.
Yeah, so just everybody getting on the same page in terms of how we want to address free agency. How we want to appropriate the amount of capital that we have, financially, and identify what's the strengths of free agency, what's the strengths of the draft, and then you balance both those, and then you kind of attack it appropriately in terms of where the value is in between each and the balance of each, like you're talking about.
Do you basically have to have multiple plans of attack? Because you can have a wish list, right? But until you get there, you don't know how actually those dominoes are going to fall.
Yeah, because the franchise tag, that's the trump card, right? Yeah, that's the ace in the hole for teams, and once they put that down, it changes everything. There's a domino effect for it, because all of a sudden you might have that guy up there, they get the franchise tag on him, it's like, all right, we got to move to the next.
I wanted to ask you something that Joe said way back when in January. He said, I think you're constantly evolving. There's some core philosophies that you don't change, but you have to be open to seeing how things are done and maybe adopting certain principles. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I think you look at the two teams that were in the Super Bowl this year, and the jokes about the Rams and don't worry about picks, and how they've attacked it and how they chose to build it. And then you look at the Bengals and how they built their roster and how they built their team, and were able to have success and get to the point. And with the quick turnaround over 2 years, they've got some incredible skill players. Joe Burrow is playing at a very high level, and they did some things defensively through free agency and upgraded their team quickly. So I think we've talked about that, as a group, and our different ideas and concepts and philosophies of how do we try and get to that level.
Yeah.
What are these teams doing? What can we take from what they've done? What can we learn? And then how to, change our philosophy and adapt and improve.
What did you think of the outcomes of the playoffs? Not the Rams being Super Bowl champions or the way those two teams got there, which you just talked about, but how close everything was amongst the group of teams when you're seeing those outcomes coming down to either overtime or the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. What does that say about where the NFL is right now?
Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes of how the game's transitioning to just such offensive explosions,
Mm.
right? I mean, that there's so many players coming in from the college level now of the teams are playing like almost glorified 7-on-7. There's so many receivers who are so skilled. There's quarterbacks that are so skilled coming to the NFL, and it's transitioning over. You see teams running those RPOs and taking some spread concepts from college and building it in and blending it in with the pro game.
Yeah.
And so those guys have taken off. I mean, you watch that the Bills and the Chiefs game,
Oh
and
my God.
that's got to be one of the most entertaining games, if not the most entertaining game of all time. So
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd have to agree. People in Buffalo obviously upset about that. And then Kansas
yeah,
City had it happen to them. They get a big lead and they were not able to hold on to it to the aforementioned Joey Burrow. I thought it was interesting something that Robert Saleh said when he addressed the media this week, saying, hey, you can do a lot of things to help the young quarterback, and that includes addressing needs on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah, and the Rams did that too. Making some significant moves and trades and going out and getting Von Miller is that final piece for a defense to add pressure. And matched with Aaron Donald and the rest of that front. When it came time to put it on the defense's back and win the game, the Stars played like stars and made it happen.
How much better of a spot are you guys in this year than maybe last year at this time, just in terms of scheme, familiarity with the coaching staffs, the likes, the dislikes, the communications patterns?
Yeah, it's been a significant change. You go from different defensive and offensive philosophies from the previous staff, and then so you're learning, you're starting over, and just getting that full season under your belt, and just knowing the coaches and hearing what their thoughts are about players and how they evaluate and their ideas of what we're doing schematically and concepts. We're all on the same page, and so we continue to grow as a player personnel staff because of the meetings from them. So we can see it through their eyes of what they want, and it just helps us build the team that they want and that we want together.
You guys drafted very talented players. We know that, but what did you think about the way Robert Saleh and his staff went about developing them when we talk about the success of that 2021 draft class?
Yeah, we loved what they did with it, man, and that's what we talked about entering is like, hey, we know we're going to be a super young team, and the biggest key is going to be developing these young guys, and that there's going to be growing pains, and everybody understood that and just kept working and kept building towards hey, 17 games.
Right.
These guys are rookies and they're young, and a lot of the team hadn't played in this type of scheme before, so we feel like the team made tremendous growth and strides.
WynnBET is now live in New Jersey, and they're bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Get in on all your favorite teams, players, and sports, from boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport. They have what you need to win. Sign up today to receive a special offer, risk-free $500 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning. WynnBET, an official sportsbook and gaming partner of the New York Jets. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-270-7117.
What did the Tampa Bay game tell you about this team late in the season and where the direction is headed?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with the way that Zach played, and you can see him, trending up after the injury and how the game slowed down for him, and he's protecting the ball and getting the ball out quickly, and went over 160 passes without an interception. So just for him specifically, it was great to see that improvement. But you saw the confidence in the team grow, especially with a game like that against reigning world champions and Tom Brady, and we went all in for it. We went all in to get it and finish it, and we learned from it. We learned as a staff. We learned, our coaching staff learned. I think we learned as an organization that Robert's going to go like he says he does, and just we're going to go all in, go after it.
I talked to Phil Savage about that game specifically, and he said it's 58 minutes we played, or maybe 59 plus minutes of where we are going.
That's exactly right. That's a great description of Phil, because we had talked about that as a staff, and we have our weekly wrap ups after the game, and we're like, that was an exposure of what we can be as a team in 2022 and moving forward.
What do you think about the financial flexibility paired with the draft capital as you guys approach these critical couple of months? Because I think it's maybe a little bit under 50 million. If you keep the 4 and 10 overall selections, it's going to be less than that. It'll be
Right.
less than 40 million. But obviously, you have some room to maneuver.
Yeah, we feel really good about that, and we constantly as a player personnel staff have to look towards the future, and we've got to build in the moment, but we also have to prepare for tomorrow too. And so we've done that, like you described, with what we have, the financial flexibility, with the cap flexibility, and the way we've managed it, and then the way we've accumulated draft capital, and the number of picks that we have, and they're high picks, and they're very valuable to us as an organization to be able to get some young guys with high-end talent who love football, who love the game, and are passionate about it, and going to add to the locker room and hopefully increase the victories.
You've been around a long time. Have you ever been in this situation, in this seat, where you do have not only the 2 top 10, but the 4 in the top 38 for the Jets franchise? It's, I think, the only third time since 1970 when you have 4 picks in the top 40.
Yeah, no, I'm at 18 years in the league, and I've never been a part of a draft where we've had this amount of capital at this type high end. I haven't even been on a staff where we've had 2 top 10 picks, but it'll be fun, man. We got so many directions we can go and add to the team.
Yeah, but that's something that, as Joe's talked about, and I'm sure you guys talk about as a staff, is that you can go in different directions, right? If you want to use that draft capital and go get a veteran player, you can do that. If you want to sit tight, you got to have confidence where you guys are as a staff, especially after what you did in the draft last year. Joe said potentially you could get 4 dynamic players with those first 4 picks.
Yeah, you always want to get starters out of your first and second round picks.
Yeah.
And with those 4 and how high up they are, we feel really good about it.
So you and Joe D, what's your sense with him here entering draft 3? You guys so tight, develop a relationship long before he hired you as assistant GM, but kind of like, where is his space right now?
Joe kind of stays the same, man. He's steady. He's got this unwavering calmness about him of the process that he's learned during his time in the NFL, from the Ravens to his brief stint in Chicago, and then transitioning to the Eagles, and how successful they were with, he's got 3 Super Bowl rings, and understanding of, he's taken a little bit of each one of the places that he's been and had success and adjusted it. And like you said, you always have to keep being able to be flexible with your philosophy and change as the league has. And we're going to continue to do it.
Can we go back to the 2021 draft class just a little bit? Because I want to ask you about a couple guys who didn't receive a lot of attention, but I know you guys have high hopes for, and that's Hamza Nasruddin and Jamie Sherwood. Unfortunately, Sherwood went down with the Achilles. But what do you think about those guys? Because I think they're kind of overlooked when we think externally as far as the linebacker position is concerned.
Yeah, because the changes of the NFL, like we discussed from a passing standpoint, of you need linebackers who can play in space and who have size and speed and length. And they're both converted safeties who were bigger body players in college and had showed the ability to play in space. And they have the physical traits and the mental traits for what we want for linebacker. And I think they're both going to continue to ascend just with time on task.
Yeah.
And, that was terrible what happened to Sherwood with the Achilles, but he's been in there. I've actually saw both those 2 guys this past week in the weight room there in training, and their bodies are growing and maturing, and they're both 2 21, 22-year-old guys who are going to continue to physically develop, and they're looking more and more physically like NFL linebackers now.
Like that, Zach Wilson said this offseason he's going to put on a couple pounds. That's natural entering year 2. I wanted to ask you about those 4 rookies at the top of the draft last year. Not only, maybe you can touch upon what they bring to the field, but also the bond they seemingly have developed, and they also have natural leadership qualities. And beyond Wilson, I'm talking about Elijah Vera Tucker. You get Elijah Moore, 5 touchdowns in 11 games. Michael Carter leads you guys in rushing. He never went down first tackle attempt.
No doubt. I mean, he either breaks a tackle or makes somebody miss. So that's a good combination to have for a running back.
Yeah.
And just like you said, just speaking to Michael specifically, he's got a ton of charisma and personality that I'm sure you guys have seen throughout the interview process. People are naturally drawn to him because he's so outgoing, and his personality is so, he's on all the time. And he brings that energy to the backfield, and that personality kind of bleeds into his play. Like, guys get fired up watching him on the field and break tackles and make people miss and finishing plays. And kid gets up and he's got a huge smile on his face after every one. So really, I mean, we thought he was trending towards 1,000+ all-purpose yards before the injury, and hated that it happened to him. But just moving back up with Elijah.
Joe called Michael Carter the other day young MC. You like that?
Yeah, I like that little throwback to the rap game. Sure. Moving on to Elijah, he's another one, man. Personality-wise, he's a live wire too, and guys are naturally drawn to him. I'm sure you've heard the documented stories about his relationship with A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, and how tight that group was and room was, and like he was kind of the dude. Like, they're all followed E. And like you felt that early on in the whole process when he hit the field, from rookie minicamp to OTAs. He's got a vet presence to him, kind of an old soul mentality for a 21, 22-year-old kid, and who's just got a ton of talent. He can play outside, he can play inside, and you can do the gadget stuff with him that we've done. He's awesome. And then moving to AVT, making a transition from college tackle to guard, and he had played some guard early on.
Yeah.
We saw it and felt like that this guy's going to be a high level, starting level player with potential for honors down the road. He's a little more quiet and reserved out of the group in terms of personality wise, but he's always locked in. He's always business, and he comes ready, and he's going to play through little small bumps and injuries and push through.
I like how they've developed like a strong bond that it extends the field. It's off the field. You can see it.
Yeah, actually ran into a couple of those guys out of NFLPA. They were out doing some rookie stuff and signing some cards, and they were in the same hotel that the NFL PA players were. And so you see it, it's like the Zach and E and MC walking together like the three amigos,
right,
coming through the hotel, and they were all beaming, had smiles on their face, and it was great to see them. So I know they're getting together as a group, the offensive skill guys and a lot of the offensive players in general, whether it's the offensive line trying to get together, but specifically the offensive skill guys are going to spend time, whether it's in Florida or California, which is huge to build that bond and the chemistry and develop.
So when you hear that, because they have to get that together on their own, you guys can't push them to do that because that's the offseason rules. What's going on when you and Joe and company are hearing that the guys are taking this upon themselves to get better?
Yeah, that's when you see the growth, man. You feel it, and it makes you feel even better about the guys who you've identified, number one, as a player from that talent level. But when you've hit on the character as well, that's when these guys are going to take us to new heights as an organization because of the bond that they've created together.
Speaking of new heights, Robert Saleh said expectations will be bigger for Zach Wilson in year 2. You know that as well. But sure. With that being said, he said the process can't change.
Right. And you can't just you can't go from A to C. You got to go from hit A, B before you get to C. And a lot of times in the NFL, I think, especially when a quarterback gets taken number 2, there's high expectations. We have them. He has them. The staff has them. And so you have to understand that for you as a quarterback coming into the league, it's not going to be instant coffee. It's not going to be like BYU where you're throwing to space.
Yeah.
The coverage is tighter. It's different. The speed of the game's different. And he's realized that, but he wants to be so good, and he wants to get to that advanced level of seeing the way Aaron Rodgers plays. And we go over those joint practices, and he's spending that time talking to him, and it's like he wants to jump from year 1 to year 14 like Aaron's, and it's like, hey man, hey, it's gonna come. So let's take it in steps. Every day you're gonna continue to see the growth in yourself.
So I should ask you who you're going to take it for. No, I'm just kidding. How about just in a very general sense, position groups? Where's the most depth in this class, would you say?
I would think offensive line.
Yeah.
Strong offensive line group. Defensive line group is really strong this year. Just in looking at those two from a volume standpoint, and then man, the receivers yesterday, the way those dudes ran, that second group that unofficially they had 10 guys who ran sub 4.4. So I think that was an all-time record for a group in terms of number of guys under 4.4. So that really popped yesterday, and just seeing that and the way those guys ran and performed.
That's wild. How about Salah using the term unicorn this week, talking about you got your premium positions, you got quarterback, you got cornerback, you got edge. But with that being said, if there is a guy who's so far above at one of these different positions, then you obviously consider taking them.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, you want to call it a unicorn, you want to call it an outlier, but if there's a rare trait or a rare talent at a different position, obviously it has to be something you're going to consider.
How do the interviews work? You get, 45 here? Is that right?
We get 45. You get 20 minutes for each one of them, but usually about 2 minutes of it is the transition of them going from suite to suite. So it's usually around 18 to 18 and a half minutes that they're actually in the seat in the room with you.
I know it's different for each guy, but what do you try to get done in that short amount of time? Because over the years, these guys have been so prepped for what they're going to face.
Yeah. They go through the process, just like the on the field training that they're doing. A lot of guys are getting the off field training and preparing for those moments. So you want to try and break it down to just see it. Hey, let's get past the pre-ordered stuff. Let's go. Let's see how authentic and genuine they are. Let's try and find out initially and quickly what drives them, what's their why, what's their passion level, what's their love of the game.
Right.
Because that's key, man, especially for the adversity that they're going to face in the NFL and in a city like New York, and the pressures and demands of being successful are huge, and they're going to be on their shoulders. So you want to see how they handle that in the moment and try and get them off their spot a little bit, show them some plays where they might not have given as much effort or showed as much strain or desire to get to the ball, and ask them why. Kind of find out what's in their core of who they are, and are they willing to take some accountability and responsibility of, hey man, I didn't play to this level on that play because of this. And let's be clear here, the coaches are involved in these meetings, because everybody's heard that Salah wasn't here, but he's part of these meetings, as are the position coaches. Yeah. Microsoft Teams is awesome. Our IT staff and Ryan O'Hare and our video staff did a great job of setting up everything from a communication standpoint. The video's clear, got it up on the big screen in there. The players are able to communicate directly with if the coach is back in Florham Park or Robert's on every call. Joe and I are either in there or on the calls. So it gives you a lot of flexibility with that. And the coaches run, the film aspect of it and talking about the on the field play. How huge was it for you guys, not only as a personnel staff, but the coaches, to be down there in Mobile for a full week with these guys? Oh man, the access to, there's over 100 players, and you get half of those on your roster for the week. So you get an opportunity to sit down and talk to them while you're eating. You get to have meals with them. You've got the position meetings with them. You've got team meetings with them. So just the access and the ability to talk to them, about life and kind of see who they are as a person and not only as a player, it was cool. It's the first time I've ever done it in the league. So obviously you don't want to be in that position again, sure, having a coach in it, but for one time it was incredible. And you got to peel the layers back on a lot of guys and see who they truly are. Would you consider 2022 here, the next couple of months, a huge opportunity to continue building this foundation with a draft like you just hit, after what we saw in Robert Saleh's first season with the ammunition you guys have? Is this a huge opportunity for this organization? Yeah, every year is, but again, like you talked about, the financial flexibility that we have, and then the draft capital, and how we can change the course of the organization, how we can change the future is huge, and it's exciting. And we talk about it as a player personnel staff, man. You got to wake up every day and just be excited about this, that we've got a chance to change the Jets and change the culture and change our future. And so we're all looking forward to it. No pressure on you, man. Considering, look at what you guys did in 2021. There was no combine last year. So watch out for 2022. It was great catching up with you. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Appreciate it.
WynnBET is now live in New Jersey, and they're bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Get in on all your favorite teams, players, and sports, from boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport. They have what you need to win. Sign up today to receive a special offer, risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning. WynnBET, an official sportsbook and gaming partner of the New York Jets. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at wynnbet.com. Must be 21 or older and present in New Jersey. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-270-7117.